afternoon. This is Josh Cramer coming to you from Game Day here at America Makes, right here at Rapid plus TCT in 2023, out here in Chicago. I have a fantastic group of individuals with me here today from a group called AMX. And this is the additive manufacturing experience. Have some fantastic, not only members, but partners, a new employee, some fantastic work from the team here. And as some of you know me, my name is Josh Cramer. I'm the Director of Education and Workforce Development here at America Makes. Super excited to be here today, celebrating what is kind of the culmination or the unicorn in the education and workforce space, which is someone who's gone through a training program with some great members, hired in the industry, having so much fun, having a great time, and successful with a great member as well. And so what I'd like to do is maybe have everyone just do a quick introduction to yourself. We'll jump into some questions here about the program as well.
All right, my name is Mike Vasquez. I started the AMX program about 3 years ago, I think now. I run a company called 3 Degrees, and the idea was that all the companies that we work with on the consulting side, they were talking about, hey, like this technology is awesome, a lot of opportunities here, but we're struggling to find people. And so I got this awesome opportunity to go into these cutting edge facilities that are doing composite 3D printing or metal 3D printing, and just seeing the excitement around it. I wanted to kind of get other people involved, and so the idea was, can we start a program just to educate people of what it's like to work in 3D printing and advanced manufacturing, and that's where AMX started. So it's a combination of workforce training from America Makes that we leverage through our membership, and some mentorship from others in the additive manufacturing ecosystem, and then we have great member partners that we went on tours like Impossible Objects and many others. So I'll pass it to maybe Dave, and he can continue on the...
So I'm Dave Brask. I'm responsible for manufacturing at Impossible Objects. We brought in a few years ago to help convert us from an R&D company to a regular commercial business. As we've been doing that, we've been growing and growing like crazy and needing to bring in new talent and new people. And the partnership with Mike's group has been fantastic in finding some good talent.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the critical pieces, right? We know workforce is a problem for many, right? Qualified workforce, not only folks that are interested and know a little bit, but actually can hit the ground running. And knowing that, it was one of the things that we really enjoyed being a part of the program early on, was being able to leverage some of these best practices from industry. It's one of the really strengths of America Makes, is being here as a good partner to be able to provide this at candidly no cost out to the membership, so that Mike felt like, hey, at least he's not starting from ground zero. But the work that's done here locally with local members and local partners is it's one of the ultimate successes, and applaud the efforts here as well. Nate from Impossible Objects, and anything you want to chime in on your end on the industry side?
I've had a great experience so far. It's been great working for Impossible Objects. I came to know them from Mike, who I met at M-Hub, and took the class, and now I'm in the industry, so far so good, I would say.
Great, and thank you so much. And one of our kind of, I'm a fan, big fan of Jesus here, who obviously, came through the training program, with AMX, had an opportunity to go through, the content curricula, the training, now working at Impossible Objects, wearing the brand with the team here as well. Jesus, you want to talk a little bit, introduce yourself, tell us about your story, your journey, what it's like to work at Impossible Objects in the additive industry now?
Yeah, sure. I'll just start from the beginning, where I had found out about the AMX program, and it was just through these emails that I usually get through my aunt. And at the time, I wasn't really doing much because it was during the pandemic, and stumbled across that AMX program, and it was the introduction of it was just learning 3D printing, and I've heard about it before, but I didn't really know that much, so I just found it to be interesting. So I signed up, and even at that point, I was always the kind of person that liked to, make things, or always, just pretty much just making things. And I just found that maybe 3D printing could help me with, some portions, some parts, and yeah, so I signed up, took the course, and at first I was a little bit confused just because it's something that was completely different, completely new. And just through time and through and working with Mike and just seeing how he's a great instructor, I was able to visit some of these facilities like M-Hub, Renishaw, Impossible Objects. Impossible Objects out of all of them was just the craziest one that I just found was really interesting, really crazy, and really, really good. And just from there, after the AMX program, I know Mike came to me and said, hey, I have a few projects that I want you to work on, see if you might be interested. And for me, it was very intimidating at first because it was still fairly new at it, but tried my best to work on it. And then from there, he had mentioned Impossible Objects again and saying that, hey, they do have an opening, seeing if you might be interested in working there. And same thing, I was comfortably uncomfortable, but I said, sure, I'll go, see how it is. And ever since from there, been working there for roughly going about six months now. And it's been really great. And just learning everything new. It's always great there. So, yeah.
That's an amazing journey, right? And I think this is one of the things that, it's one of those kept secrets, best kept secrets of the additive industry. What you have on display here is some amazing humans doing amazing work, right? And having folks, this is not always, paid time. This is not the core function of everyone's business here. These are folks that are volunteering to open their minds, open their hearts, open their arms to welcome folks into the industry. And this is, it's key. It's key on a couple platforms that we're building, one of which is called AM Jobs, where we'll be featuring Jesus and his journey and all those kind of things so that others in the industry can see themselves in these roles as well, right? And I think that's critical, right? Coming out to Impossible Objects and 3 Degrees and doing some filming and capturing the story, to share even further. We have Laura from TCT anchoring the other side of the desk here, and I know, Laura, you're hearing this story, pretty new, fresh, fresh off the presses, so to speak. Thoughts and questions, for the team out from your end.
Yeah, so this is a great example, and I know from TCT very often we talk to end users and vendors about the challenges in additive manufacturing, and one of those is workforce development and skills, and how do you plug those skills gaps. And I just wondered, do you think maybe we walk around a trade show like this and we see all the cool things you've just mentioned and all the different things this industry is capable of? Do we need to kind of change the perception to people outside the industry of what manufacturing jobs actually look like in order to encourage more people to take up those roles?
Yeah, possibly. It's a really good question. The advantage that it brought to us is people coming through the program are interested in it to begin with. So when we land people, they want to work with us and they want to be in the industry. But it's a different type of manufacturing today than what it was a long time ago. And people come in, they're having fun, they're growing, they're learning a lot of different things and become very versatile. So I think, that's a really interesting way to get the word out.
And one of the thoughts early on when I was thinking about this is, if you look around here, we know who 3D Systems is, and Stratasys, and EOS, but if you go out on Michigan Avenue and bring in 5 people, they're not going to know who any of these companies are. Much less, what do they do? What does it look like to get a job? What is the job description? Or even going inside to see it. And so the real thesis behind AMX was, okay, I've been in this space for a while. I know people, I can get into facilities. Why don't I bring some folks along and say, hey, look at this awesome 3D printed part out of carbon fiber or metal. And the idea really is just hey, plant some seeds, see, what does it look like to work here? Everyone's just normal people. They're very friendly. If you show up on time and work with your hands, I think that's a good start in manufacturing. And so that was really kind of where the ideas kind of started with it.
And likewise, on the opposite side of that question, do we maybe need to change what we're looking for in people too? The idea of what perhaps an engineer looks like, what do we need to think differently about the kind of skills that we're after, the types of people that we're after there?
Yeah, I'll jump in and add there. One of the things that we're working a lot on recently is defining job roles and the competency in which they have and they need. And then understanding that if we drive with competencies versus training, we can get to a place where we can look at competency adjacencies, right? So perception is a huge problem. We know that. We're tackling that. I just talked about some opportunities to continue to tackle that. But I think when we get into understanding, what do we need them to know, do, and perform? What is the knowledge, skills, and abilities needed for a particular job role? And when we can drive with a standardization across that and an understanding, we can look at those types of training assets. Mike talked about leveraging, Additive Edge as one of those resources. Some of the industry, validated training and content. We looked at credentialing frameworks. Also that, these are all tools in the tool chest that Mike was able to say, I don't have to start from scratch, we can pull from those. The same methodology when we look at job roles and competencies of those job roles across the industry. It's one of the key focuses within America Makes is to make sure that we're standardizing, without being standards-based, but standardizing across with the need of voice and of industry and the Department of Defense and the other federal partners as well. So I'll pose another question out. Jesus, specifically on your side, what's the coolest thing you've worked on so far at Impossible Objects? And if you need to slide over a chair, you can get out of arm's length. That's okay too. But
Well, quite honestly, like everything there is always something that's interesting to learn with. I guess what's been really, really, really cool has been being able to work on the machines that we have there, the 3D machines that we have. Only given because when I first got there, it was just basic introduction where I was doing the more labor-intensive work, and then worked my way up to the printer, and then the day when I finally did start to train on these printers, it was intimidating, but everyone that works there is so grateful. So helpful, and they aren't. Like if you have a question, like they won't hesitate to answer it or to help you or to give you some guidance. So working on that printer has just been really, really cool. And I remember that there would be weeks where I would see Mike and then he would say, hey, how's everything going? And at first I would tell him, hey, like I'm just barely starting training, still working on a few things. And then progressively over the months, I would tell him like, hey, like I'm at the point where I can operate this machine on my own, and I can comfortably say like I don't need anybody there to observe or to help me in anything as that. So usually my days start just coming in and setting up the printer if need be, and I don't need any supervision. I don't need anybody to help me run that printer because I'm confident enough in myself to be able to run that assets already.
That's fantastic. Obviously you can see why Jesus works there, right? A tremendous person, tremendous asset for Impossible Objects. Dave and Nate, I'm going to put you on the spot. If Mike can keep churning out, these students now, new employees, y'all going to keep hiring them?
Absolutely. It's been a great, not a screening tool, but people who have interest in the business and they want to come in. And so, everyone stayed with us from the beginning so far since they've been there. Granted, it's a relatively new tenure, but the opportunity to grow in the company. Impossible Objects is growing like crazy right now, so there's growth opportunity organically within. So I think that keeps a lot of interest going, and people want to do a lot more. So yeah, I would definitely hire more.
That's great. And again, obviously I started out talking and introducing this panel as just tremendous people, right? And we know that's what makes up the additive industry is tremendous people. Can't thank you all enough to come share your story. Obviously blessed to be working with you all and have you, part of what we call AM Nation here at America Makes. So thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. Looking forward to coming to you with some more partners here at Game Day at America Makes here at Rapid plus TCT 2023.